we have other giant fruits. You'll hear me today talk about some different lingo. One is GPC. So GPC is called the Great Pumpkin Commonwealth. If you look right behind the desk there, see that Great Pumpkin Commonwealth, that banner, that orange banner? That is a governing body for all the giant way-offs on Earth that, you know, are associated with it. So there are roughly 120 giant pumpkin competitions just like this around the entire globe. So from Japan, to Europe, over to the United States, and even South Africa. They're all governed by the same governing body, and that's the GPC, the Great Pumpkin Commonwealth. And in that GPC, there are 8 recognized giant fruits and vegetables. Actually, they're all fruits. The big one is the giant pumpkins, but we also have giant squash, which is actually the same family as the giant pumpkins, but they have to be 100% green. So we'll be weighing the giant squash. We also have giant watermelon, and we have giant tomato. We have giant bushel gourd. We have giant long gourd, which I don't see any of. And giant marrow, which is like a big zucchini. Think of it as a giant zucchini. And then the last one is giant field pumpkin. We'll get into this a little later, but giant field pumpkin and giant pumpkins are separate species. So they don't interbreed, they don't intercross. This is a cucurbita maxima. That's the big ones, soft stem. The giant field pumpkins are cucurbita pepo, and those are a hard green stem. Those are the ones you guys are used to getting and carving up and putting on your front porch or your steps. Separate species, so giant pumpkins are different than giant field pumpkins. Just real quick, the world record giant pumpkin stands at 2,749 pounds. The giant field pumpkin stands at 268 pounds. So quite a bit different, but they are both considered pumpkins. We do have one of those here today. I see at least one, so we'll weigh that up as well. In fact, I think we're going to start with our smallest of the giants, the tomatoes. So let's hop right into it. Again, my name is Chris Brown. I've been growing giants since 2017, so about 7 years now. And let's see what we got here. All right, so the first giant tomato is actually grown by me. And what is interesting is I am the current Minnesota state record holder for giant tomatoes. I grew a giant tomato to over 9 pounds just a couple years ago. Now, if you can envision a 9-pound tomato, well, here, I'll help you envision it. An NBA basketball is 29.5 inches circumference. My tomato was 29.75 inches in circumference. So it was an incredible tomato, one of the biggest ever growing on the planet. And this one comes in at 2.2 pounds, so just a baby. These are ones I grow for my BLTs. 2.2 pounds, good weight. Might be big enough for first place here. It looks like we only have 2 entries. Christine, where you at? I see you sitting somewhere over there. Christine, oh, there she is, waving. She brought another tomato. We'll see what that one weighs. She came all the way here from Wisconsin Dells. She won 1.64 pounds. Nice tomato, Christine. Thank you for driving over from Wisconsin. Especially with all of us Packer fans, or Vikings fans, happy today. I guess I'm no, I'm not, trust me. All right, so we got the tomatoes done. Nice and easy, a couple of them. And the tomatoes really represent a giant that almost anybody can grow. So if you're looking at these pumpkins and you're like, I don't have the space to grow a giant pumpkin, Giant tomatoes are an excellent giant that anybody can grow. If you have a porch and you can put out a pot and grow it, you can grow these giants right in your own yard. So if you ever wanted to jump into competition growing, the extreme gardening that we do, tomatoes are an excellent first choice. Another one is giant sunflowers. Giant sunflowers are a fun giant to grow and they take up very little space. All right, we're gonna go over to bushel gourds. Hold up the bushel gourd. Well, this is a small bushel gourd, but you know you might as well bring one if you got it, just in case nobody else does, because then you win, right? So this bushel gourd, grown by Christine as well, weighs a whopping 0.8 pounds. She was right, it's smaller than her tomato. Bushel gourds do normally get bigger. The state record is actually 331 pounds. If you can imagine, that thing is 331 pounds. That is what our Minnesota state record bushel gourd is, and that was grown by me as well. Just probably 5 years ago I grew that. It was a monster. And the world record was grown out east in, I believe, Massachusetts by Steve Conley. And that was at 470 pounds. So an incredible bushel gourd. All right, the next one we're going to move on to. Remember I said marrow earlier? Marrow. There's a couple ways to say it. You know, potato, tomato. Marrow. We'll get a couple people up here to show you guys this. Hey Dan, why don't you come up here since you grew it? All right, Dan grew a marrow, or marrow, however you want to say it. It is like a giant zucchini. In fact, I like to call them alligator zucchini because of their skin. They look like an alligator. And these things, they grow pretty quick, but what's cool is just last week, Dan from Sturgeon Lake, Minnesota, grew the new state record marrow at 74 pounds. Congratulations. Very, very nice. The one today looks a little smaller, so probably not looking at a new state record, but we'll throw it up on the scale here. Where's my scale, people? Oh, okay. I guess Dan's going to be my scale help today. We'll have him throw it up, just as long as he doesn't put sinkers in it on the way up. Hold it up, though, for the audience. That right there's a marrow, or what I like to call an alligator zucchini. See that, like, ridging? It looks really cool. Now, again, he has a 74-pound state record. The world record is 256 pounds out of the United Kingdom. All right, go ahead, put it on. Let's see what the giant marrow weighs. 46 pounds. Oh, we'll call it 47. 47 officially. Oh, it keeps going up. Must be gaining weight. We'll call it 47. 47 is official weight. You want? Oh, you can do a picture. That's a lot of zucchini bread.
I know.
And you can use them for zucchini bread. A lot of questions will be asked today. Can you eat these giants? You can eat them. They're actually not too bad. Some of them that get real big, they can get a little more fibrous, a little more watery, but all of them you can eat. In fact, there's a grower that out every year he takes a chunk out of his pumpkin and he turns it into a bunch of pumpkin pies. So you can eat them. The watermelon, I got one coming up here. I'm going to eat that. It's really sweet, right out of the garden. All right, remember earlier how I talked about the GPC recognized fruit? There's 8 of them. We do have one here that is a non-recognized GPC fruit, but there's a lot of giants besides just what's recognized by the GPC. In fact, there's probably about 80 different giants you can grow. And I currently keep track of state records in every state for about 55 of them. So if you ever want to grow something and maybe get your name in the record books, a nice little certificate, definitely talk to me about that. I do have a Facebook group called Garden of Giants. You can get on there, hear from all the giant growers across the planet. All right, let's weigh the butternut squash next. The butternut squash is a fun, non-GPC recognized fruit. It does get big. In fact, the world record's up near 131 pounds, I believe, somewhere right in there. And the state record is held by Serene at 71 pounds. So before he throws this on the scale, if this is over 71 pounds, it will be a brand new Minnesota state record butternut squash. All right, go ahead, put it on. Let's see what we got. Come on, be 72. Oh, so close, 66 pounds. All right, Serene's safe. I don't even think she's here yet, but she's safe, and we got a 66-pound butternut squash. Now you see it's still green. It's still green. That means you cut it when it was still growing, because it'll turn a nice kind of a tan color. You guys all know what butternut squash look like. As it gets fully mature, it goes to a nice tan color. So that one had some pounds left on it. My guess is that the weather is what caused him to say, okay, it's done. All right, let's go to, let's see. All right, we'll jump over to watermelon. Now watermelon, you know, Minnesota and watermelon typically don't go together. That's a fruit that loves heat. In fact, the more heat you give it, the better off they grow. And I remember when I grew my first watermelon, I did not think you could even grow watermelon in Minnesota, but I got a pretty decent one. And this year we got a couple entries. The first one is Lisa Magnuson. Hey, how's it going, Lisa? Now this is your first year growing watermelon, correct? Last week you got, was it 65 pounds? 65 pounder last week, so that's pretty dang good for first year out, especially with our cold spring and summer. But we'll see what this one weighs. We'll get the lifting crew over there to throw the watermelon on. And Lisa and Jim, just if you guys don't know, they were up until this year the Minnesota State Fair record holders for giant pumpkins at 1,676 pounds. Incredible. All right, let's see what the melon weighs. It comes in at 57 pounds, a little less than last week, but still very respectable and something that will be very good in the garden. You want to take a picture with it? Very nice. 57-pound watermelon. The watermelon we typically use, the variety is called the Carolina Cross. That's one that has typically been known to get up to 200 pounds. Now the Minnesota state record, to give you guys an example of how big they can get in Minnesota, is 227.5 pounds. Growing down, I believe, by Rochester, right in that area. The world record, interesting, comes from Tennessee, and that was growing by Chris Kent, and that came in at an incredible, ready? 350.5 pounds. That is incredible for a giant watermelon. All right, the next watermelon, Dan's definitely going to need help with this one. I shouldn't say he might be feeling strong today. Maybe not. All right, this next one was grown by me. I have grown watermelon. This is my third time ever trying watermelon. My personal best is 183.5, which is pretty good sized watermelon. This one's not going to get near that, but we'll see what it ends up at. I'm hoping for 100 pounds. If I can get a 100-pound watermelon, I'll be happy, right? In Minnesota. Watermelon is really sweet, although it does have a lot of seeds. We're so used to the seedless varieties now that too many seeds. All right, Alex, jump off it. Let's see. Can I get 100 pounds? 111. Beautiful. Excellent. I'll take it. It's a lot of watermelon. All right, 111 for the watermelon for Chris. What's your biggest? What's your 281? And that was last week. So she had one 281 last week. This is going to be Let's see what we got. Craig, jump off. This one comes in at 106, got over 100. You want me to take a picture? Great. Congrats. Good start for the squash. There is one more squash. We're gonna get that one up here. Just to let you guys know, the state record squash, just to let you know how big they can get, is about 15, I think it's 1,595 pounds, grown by Charlie Bernstrom. It's a big one, almost 1,600 pounds. So they can get big, and the world record actually stands right now at 2,118 pounds. I believe out of Ohio. I believe it's out of by the Skinners. But yeah, so they can get over 2,000 pounds. There's only been maybe 3 or 4 growing over that 2,000 pound mark, which is quite incredible to get a pumpkin that big, or a squash. All right, the second one. This one is Dan's. Where's Dan? Always helping. So Dan Peterson, he must grow a little bit of everything. And that is Dan from Sturgeon Lake. Beautiful color, 100% green, which is what we want, and 105 pounds. Very, very impressive. That was a close one. So Christine won, 106 to 105, 1 pound difference. That's crazy. Yeah, it was probably that little skin that came off. All right, I think that's it for small veggies, right, or small fruits. So I think we're gonna move on to our Atlantic Giants. Remember, Atlantic Giants are the big ones, the big giant pumpkins. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to start with the smallest and work our way to the biggest. Now, how do we know what the smallest is versus the biggest? We do a measurement, and the measurement is 3 ways. So we do a circumference measurement, we do a side to side, and then we do a stem to blossom. We add those 3 scores together, and then that gives us an estimate of how much they weigh. So then what we'll do is we'll take the smallest and we'll start weighing it all the way to the biggest. Now, it doesn't mean you can get something with a small OTT, which is what we call the 3-way measurement, that ends up weighing a lot more because its rind is thick. So you never know. We have the estimates, and then the truth will present itself once we put it on the scales. So I guess we have a field pumpkin before we jump into the Atlantic Giants. Now remember, the giant field pumpkins are a separate species from the giant pumpkins. So this is a hard stem field pumpkin, the type that you buy, you carve, and you put on your steps or your porch. And this one was grown by Dan Peterson, the guy that brought it up there, and comes in at 57 pounds. Your personal best is what, 100? 103 pounds. So he has grown them to 103. This is a 57 pounder, very nice. It hasn't even turned orange yet. So when you know when it turns orange, that's when it's done growing. So this one, again, was still growing. Probably cut it because he's up by Duluth, and it probably froze there the other night. But congratulations, very nice size. Again, the state record for a field pumpkin, 197 pounds. So very, very good size. The world record, 268. So they can get big. All right, now we'll jump into the Atlantic Giants. And again, we're going to start with the smallest one first, measured by our three-way measurement we call OTT. It gives us the estimated weight. Looks like Craig's going to just haul it over there. He's feeling strong today. Can handle a 200-pounder, no problem. All right, let me... All right, so the first pumpkin, Titus Berg, come on down. How's it going? I haven't seen you for a while. Okay, maybe a week ago. Last week you weighed one. How big was it? 100. He weighed, first year grower, very first time growing, he weighed a 172 pounder last week. This is the second one he's going to put on scale. Let's jump off, see how much it weighs. 49 pounds. Congratulations, Titus. A nice pumpkin for your first year out. And Titus is from New Prague, so thank you for coming out. All right, Steve, you're going to be on deck. I think I see you here. Oh, there you are. Your second year growing. Last year you got a personal best of 94 pounds that you brought to Stillwater. We're going to see if we can't get above that personal best. So whenever you grow a giant, you try to get a baseline. Your biggest one becomes your personal best, and your goal is really competing with yourself. You want to try getting bigger than you have the year before, and he's going to do that. Hopefully it's over 94 pounds. So okay, well, we're hoping for 150 at least. That would definitely give him a new personal best. All right, let's everything's away from it. Let's see if Steve gets a new personal best. Anything over 94, 145, perfect. That is amazing. Go up, grab a picture if you'd like. Here, I can take it. You got a new personal best. Where these came from, what's even the big thing about giant pumpkins, and how do they get so big? Well, they weren't always so big. The giant pumpkins, if you go back to the year 1900, so that was 124 years ago, 1900, there was a grower, his name was William Warnock, and he brought a pumpkin to the World Fair, and that pumpkin came in at 400 pounds, right on the nose. And that was the new world record. Now we might be getting close to that, 400 pounds. But we'll pick up on that story after we weigh this. The guy who's actually holding the pumpkin is the grower. Comes in at 152, the new leader. Look at that, yeah. Now Alex's personal best is almost 2,000 pounds. So this was a little fruit that was just growing on the side vine, and I love it that you're taking a picture with it. That really makes me happy. 152 for Alex. Like I said, his personal best is almost 2,000 pounds. It's a pretty incredible pumpkin. He has one in the patch. I don't know. One for next week that might challenge that. He's pretty secretive. He doesn't like telling me his numbers. But it might challenge it. But congratulations, Alex, you are the new current leader. 152. Let's see if we can't get anybody bigger. I'm guessing we can. All right, so remember William Warnock, he brought a pumpkin 400 pounds, brand new world record back in 1900. And then, the next 80 years, I like to call the dark ages because pumpkin sizes didn't really move up. In fact, 1980 is when the next giant grower brought in a monster pumpkin. It came in at like 437 pounds. And that pumpkin was the new world record. So from 1900 to 1980, the world record went up only 37 pounds roughly. I might be a couple pounds off on the numbers, but it's roughly that. And the cool part about the grower in 1980, which is what, 24 years ago, that grower's name was Howard Bierle. He decided to do something different. He decided to give away those seeds to other growers and to tell people his tricks, tips, and secrets. How did he grow it? And then what happened over the next 44 years was quite amazing. Almost every single year, the world record went up and up and up. 1996, the first 1,000 pound pumpkin was attained. Incredible. Nobody thought you could hit 1,000 pounds. And then when it was 1,000 pounds, nobody said, we'll never hit 1,500. That's impossible. Well, in 2006, so just 10 years later, the first 1,500 pound pumpkin was hit. And then everybody's like, well, we'll never hit 2,000. That can't happen. And in 2012, the first 2,000 pound pumpkin hit the scale. And so the weights kept going up because there's a few reasons. But one is the growers started sharing seeds and they started sharing information. And that information really helped all the growers kind of compete at the same level versus one guy being able to get the big one every year. All right, we're gonna get this next one up. Christine, where are you? Let's see. Oh, there she is. All right, Christine, remember she came over from Wisconsin Dells. She was at Nowthen last week, and you had a pretty good pumpkin there. And Nakusa, what was your one in Nakusa?
449.
449?
Yeah.
Oh, and it is going to the Packers Stadium. Lambeau Field's gonna carve it up because it was yellow and green. See, some of these, so some people ask, why are these different colors? Well, they can be any shade between white, green, orange, even a yellow if they're younger. And they can be all different shades, all the same fruit, all the same species. In fact, if you look at this one is a beautiful, beautiful orange. Now this gives me a good opportunity to tell you about, remember the guy I just told you about in 1980 who a new world record pumpkin? His name was Howard Dill out of Nova Scotia, Canada. Howard Dill is the award we give out for prettiest pumpkin. It's called the HD Award or the Howard Dill Award. So at the end of the show today, one of these pumpkins is going to be crowned the most prettiest. And they're going to get a nice orange plaque and what we call the Howard Dill Award or the HD Award. So this one right here is a beautiful orange. That's the type of orange you want to see. And it actually came from another grower from last year, from his Howard Dill winner, his HD winner. In fact, this guy right here, Jerry Gibson's the one who grew the pumpkin last year, gave Christine a seed. He won the prettiest pumpkin last year, gave Christine a seed, she grew it, and she has a very beautiful pumpkin. We'll see how big it is. His last year was 1,182 pounds. Christine, this is your second year growing, right? Second year growing, so she's still working on her soil a little, but boy, that color is right. So we'll put it on here. We'll see how big are you hoping? Let's try it for 250. That'd put you in the lead if nothing else. All right, we'll clear the ropes away. Get the feet off the scale. you'd wish, right? 222 pounds, brand new leader, beautiful little pumpkin. Congratulations, Christine, all the way from Wisconsin Dells. You can run up there and grab a picture. Up from there. In fact, just last year, the brand new world record pumpkin was put on display out in California, and that pumpkin came in at an astonishing 2,749 pounds. And guess where that pumpkin was growing? I heard somebody say, at least close. So the pumpkin was growing about 15 miles north of here in the town of Nowthen. His address is an Anoka address, 55330 or 55303, right? Yep. So a lot of the news organizations said Anoka. It is technically Nowthen, but in Anoka, Nowthen, all the same. It's 15 miles north of here. The largest pumpkin on this planet was growing at 2,749 pounds, grown by Travis Ginger, who has another one in his patch right now as we speak that is rivaling that world record. So the hope obviously would be is he can beat his own world record from the year before, which almost never happens in this sport.
That way in
The cool part about growing giant pumpkins is that it is so random based on weather and soil, and there's so much going on that nobody can really run away with this and become the Yankees or, you know, whatever. Pick your favorite sports team. The same person can't win every single year. It almost never happens. So for Travis to pull off another gigantic pumpkin that is rivaling his own world record is actually quite impressive. What's the score?
17 to 23.
All right, update for all you Vikings fans, and to really just shove it in the face of the Packer fans. Vikings win 23-17. Oh yeah, 5-0 baby. There's almost nobody left that 5-0. I think we're going to the Super Bowl. Who agrees with me? Is this 98 all over again? It better be a little better than 98. All right, let's get back focused here. Chip, come on up. Chip is from Nowthen, actually probably only a mile or two from Travis. Maybe that's good soil up there, right? All right, Chip actually weighed his biggest pumpkin because you're a first-year grower last week at, was that the 529? 529 pounds, first-year grower. Incredible. This is his smaller one, right? Probably going to be, well, right there, 285. It looks like it's going to land on, but adding a second one to your giant pumpkin journey. So jump up there, grab a picture. So 280, I think the official was 285 before the wind started moving in, I guess. But Chip, yeah, like I said, Chip's from Nowthen, Minnesota, just a couple miles from Travis. He got a few seeds this spring and jumped into the journey, and probably needless to say, you're hooked now, right? Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm sure they'll get bigger and bigger. I bet next year we'll see an over 1,000 pounder. That's what I'm hoping. Good job, Chip. All right, we'll move on. On deck, Marvin. So before we get Marvin up here, and I think he's a first year grower too, we'll get his pumpkin over here. But, so how do these pumpkins keep getting so big? How is it that Travis, just a few miles from here, can grow a 2,749 pounder? One thing that we do that most people don't know happens is we do what we call a closed pollination. We do not let the bees touch our patches. And the reason why is because you never know if that big old bumblebee flies into Miss Johnson's patch and she has the world's smallest pumpkins, and then brings back that pollen and introduces it to our large pumpkins. So we want to control that. And the way we control it is we cover that female flower the day before she opens with like a bag, a screen. I put chip clips on. Just you want to prevent it from opening. And then what you do is the morning it opens, you open her up and you've collected like 5 male flowers, either from the same plant or you can do another plant if you're trying to, say you have a really orange pumpkin, but you also have a really big pumpkin and you want to get those genetics together. So you'll take your female off the orange, you'll leave her on there, you'll cover her, you'll go over to your big pumpkin plant and you'll grab, I like to get 3 to 5 male flowers, and then the next morning, 7 a.m., you're going to open it up, paint that pollen on, and then cover her back up. And then that way, you have now ensured that you have a pure genetic cross or genetic self. And that's how those pumpkins kept getting bigger and bigger every year, is by doing really, really controlled pollination. So that's one of the many, many secrets with growing these giant pumpkins. If you're just growing the pumpkins and you don't care what bee hits it, it will not affect the weight for a current year's growth. It only affects the seeds that you'll take out and then grow the next year. So the pollen, you can use a pollen from the smallest, from the little Curie squashes, and they'll pollinate these. And it won't do a thing for that year's growth. It just ruins the seeds for the future. All right, let's get the next pumpkin up here. Come on down. Oh, let's see. Marvin, you're from Jordan? Oh, right there. Marvin from Jordan. Oh, you had a little bit of a drive, right? And this is first year. Is this the very first pumpkin you're ever going to put on a scale? Okay, very first pumpkin. So this pumpkin will be his personal best, his baseline. Very first time ever putting it on there. What do you hope it weighs? 300? Let's go for 300. That would give him the lead. That's always a good thing, right? All right, let's see if we can let's come on up here. This is a pretty pumpkin. What's the genetics on it? Oh, 1965 Caspers. So that was the really pretty one at Stillwater a couple years back. Or was that last year? Was that last year? Yeah. All right, we'll get the ropes off here. It does look pretty nice. Has a nice orange glow coming through it. All right, they're gonna get it over on there, and then we'll get an actual weight. All right, we'll get the straps moved away. And see what Marvin Clare from Jordan, Minnesota, what his very first pumpkin's gonna come in at. All right, Dan, jump off. 339 pounds, the new leader. Very nice sized pumpkin. Go up there, grab a picture with it. 339 pounds, incredible. They're getting bigger, folks. We're going in the right direction. So when I say now then, or I say Stillwater, I should probably step back and say Remember, the GPC is the one that governs, we use their rules. Those rules follow the Guinness World Records. But the GPC, we hold 3 GPC sponsored events in Minnesota. They're the competitions. So last week we had one in Nelson, Minnesota. This week we have one in Anoka. And next week, next Saturday, this Saturday, we're having the big one over in Stillwater. So if you guys want to see some of the largest pumpkins on earth, head to Stillwater next Saturday. We're probably going to have about 40, maybe 50 pumpkins, and many of them are going to be over 2,000 pounds. They're going to be really, really big. So definitely check that out. But Jerry, last 3 years at the Nelson event, has grown 3 very beautiful pumpkins. And he's won, the award I talked about. And this one is another beauty. It's really pretty. On the small side for what you're used to, but it was a rough year. Started cold. He lives by the roof, so we got that wind off that lake the whole summer. And you've already had a few frosts, right? If not, you could probably call them full-blown freezes. All right, 5:32 for this beauty, and it is a beauty. So get up there. That's a beautiful one. Jerry's best is, I think you got just this year, right? Your biggest. 1534. So Jerry has grown them to 1,534 pounds. But this one is a beautiful 532 pounder. Congratulations, Jerry. Excellent looking pumpkin. And if anybody likes keeping track of the seeds, that one's off the 2266 Kaismore. Doug, he grew that seed last year over in Ohio. Now, when you hear me say 2266, that Kaismore, that is how we identify the different seeds. Remember, we keep our genetics pure. We identify the seeds. It's basically a pedigree, just like dogs, horses, whatever. So a 2266 is a 2,266 pound pumpkin grown by a grower named Doug Kaismore, and that seed, that was the seed that came out of that 2,266 pound pumpkin. Jerry then took that and grew that pumpkin. So now this pumpkin will be a Gibson, Jerry's last name, Gibson, and what was it, 532 Gibson is what that seed will now be called if it takes the seeds out of it. It's a windy one today. I'm sorry if you're getting any feedback of that wind. I think what's safe enough for us is this building. Here today. This one's his other pumpkin right over here. And when you bring 2 pumpkins to a weigh-off competition, especially one that's ran and governed by the GPC, there are rules you have to follow. And one of those rules is you can only pick one of your pumpkins if you bring multiple to be the official one towards the prize structure, towards the awards. So this next one we're going to weigh is what we call an exhibition pumpkin. It is one that we just want to get a legal weight on, but it's not going to count for any of the awards or any of the prizes. It's just simply to get an official weight on it so that he knows what he grew. Office, especially if you want certain seeds that you want it to be grown. So we do, I think we have only one of those today, maybe 2, but if you hear the word exhibition fruit or exhibition pumpkin, that is just an extra pumpkin that was brought by a grower. So the way that you're supposed to do it in the GPC, or the way that you have to do it, is you grow multiple pumpkins. and you bring them to different weigh-offs. So one pumpkin is growing for each weigh-off. Jerry, I think, has more pumpkins than weigh-offs that he's going to this year, so that's why he brought an extra one to get the weight on it. And again, his personal best is 1,554 or 34 pounds, and that is quite impressive considering he grows up in Sturgeon Lake, which is always a little colder than everybody else. And we'll we'll get this wrapped up, get it onto the scale, and we'll see what this exhibition fruit weighs. Pull the ropes away, see what Jerry has. 656. So 656 is going to be the official weight on that one. Congratulations, Jerry. That's his exhibition pumpkin. So in this case, his exhibition actually weighed more. You technically want your exhibition to weigh less if you're going for the prize structure. However, because his other pumpkin is so pretty, he wants that opportunity to at least go for the prettiest pumpkin. So he chose the smaller weight pumpkin to go after that prize versus the heavier pumpkin. But he wanted to still get that one. All right, 656. Congratulations, Sherry. I mean, it needs to be of very, very good genetics. It needs to be from a controlled pollination. Those usually work the best because you know what you're dealing with. Rabbit. Any of those manures are going to help. What they're going to do, they're going to put that food into that soil that then gets your microbes, all your billions and billions of living organisms in that soil. It'll get them really going. Which is very, very important. All right, next pumpkin. Okay, before we do the pumpkin, we're having some ambassadors come on up. So come on up. I think they're going to introduce themselves here. I'll let them take it away. Oh.
Hey guys, thanks for having us out. We are the 2024.
Have you guys ever weighed one? This will be your very first pumpkin you ever weighed. We're calling it a team grow. You guys helped? All right. So we got our team, first year growers. So whatever this weight is, it's going to be their baseline. It's going to be their personal best. Charlie and Caleb, let's get that pumpkin on there. What are you hoping it weighs? 700? Whoa, that would jump us up. We'd be going right to the top, get a new leader. All right, 700. So I'm assuming you guys have done some taping of it, right? So you kind of have a guesstimate, an idea of where it's going to be. What seed is this one off of? 1965 Caspers. So that was from a 1,965 pound pumpkin from a grower named Pete Caspers, 1965 Caspers, out of Iowa. Came up to Stillwater last year, weighed it. It was very beautiful. We got 739. All right, go on up there. That is incredible. 739 pounds, very first year growing, and it's pretty nice looking too. I love those ribs. Gives it some good character. 739 pounds. Now, what's very interesting, I'll tell you this story because it's pretty cool. 2017, the very first year they did the Anoka event here, I brought my very first pumpkin. and it weighed 763 pounds. So that was back in 2017. So 739, you guys did absolutely incredible. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it. You're going more something that a lot of people ask. Now, most of the Atlantic giants we grow on their sides. See how the stem's on this end, flower ends on this one? If you look at Shannon's pumpkin, it is growing what we call Cinderella style. So it was growing on its flower end. So this flower end here, it was growing purposely on that, and then the stem going straight up into the air versus off to the side. So if you look at it, it is what we call a Cinderella pumpkin. It's when it works, it is just beautiful. This one looks pretty good. It has a little bit of a pear shape, but the color is really nice, and it looks like it's off the 359 Foss, which is a legendary seed from a legendary grower, Bill Foss, out of Buffalo, Minnesota. He no longer grows, but he has a great little documentary video if you ever find it on the internet. I think it's Bill's big pumpkin journey or something like that. But it's off of his seed. And this one does look really nice. You know, when the pumpkins are growing this way, they can be very deceivingly hard to measure. So it may weigh more than what he is thinking. Now, Shannon's personal best is 1,454 pounds, which is a pretty good sized pumpkin. And we'll see what this one weighs. What are you hoping it weighs, Shannon?
550.
All right, well, 550, maybe 507. 507, a pretty Cinderella pumpkin. Cinderella style pumpkin. Go ahead, take some pictures. Little Mavis is gonna go up with him. Pumpkins, these will be the top 5 largest pumpkins, and hopefully we see some monsters. Josh, come on down. Josh, all the way from St. Cloud. You came on down. Now where'd you get the seed to grow this from? Oh, from me. All right. From one of my pumpkins that was very beautiful. It won the prettiest pumpkin award, a 1054, so a 1,054 pound pumpkin. He took this seed, and this is your very first time growing, right? Very first year. Yep, this will be the first pumpkin he puts on the scale, which is incredible. It's a very nice size pumpkin, and it will set your baseline, your personal best. And it's beautiful. So, excellent job at growing this. We're gonna move it over onto that scale. What are you hoping it weighs? You're okay to lead. That would be the biggest pumpkin so far today. If we can get over 800. Set it onto that scale. Since we're on the top 5, we're going to do a countdown. We're going to see how big these giants are with a little bit of anticipation and surprise. How many pumpkins do you grow here? Just one? Just one? So one and done, and it looks like a pretty good one. Your personal best is 208 pounds. So unofficially, last year he grew a 208 pound pumpkin. He is hoping to get a really good personal best. Let's see at least 800. Let's see it, Alex. Pull it. 845. Good job. Congratulations. That is an awesome pumpkin. Brand new leader. 845 pounds. Go up there and grab your picture. Congratulations, Josh. All the way from St. Cloud. pumpkins. Listen closely, because I'm gonna give you the secrets. And remember, the one we talked about before break was seeds. You need the best seeds in the world. The ones that are genetically controlled by the giant growers. We do have some over there. I think they're $10. You can get some of the best pumpkins from 1,500 pound pumpkins, and try your hand at this. The winner today will receive I think it's $1,000. I think we're at. So really, really nice prize for first place. 1,500. I knew it went up. It's inflation, right? It was 1,000 last year, 1,500 this year. So, a little something to buy some more manure for your patch. But if you want to grow these giants, you want to give them a little bit of space. So what most of these growers do is they're going to give one plant and one pumpkin per plant. They're going to give 20 by 20 feet. Sometimes they'll even go 30 by 30 feet, so about 1,000 square feet. So you'll devote that to the pumpkin. Now, listen really close. This is what can up your game. If you're getting pumpkins that are small, this is how you get them to 1,000 pounds or larger. As the vines grow, you're going to take those vines and you're going to bury them. You're going to put dirt over them. So every single vine. Now, we like to grow our pumpkin vines from where they start. We're going to grow them straight out. So think of it this way. Start here, grows up. This is the main vine. Then off the main vine, you're going to have secondary vines going off in all in a direction, so it looks similar to like a Christmas tree. And then the vines that come off the secondary vines, you're going to pinch them. You're not going to allow those to grow. And you want that organization to keep good airflow through. That prevents disease. That's very important. That's how you get a bigger pumpkin. But those vines that come out, you want to bury them. If you're burying them, that means you're throwing some dirt over the top. Now, why do you do that? Because every single leaf that comes up and grabs that solar energy, all that sun, there below that leaf, at the bottom of that stalk, is a root that grows down. And if you bury it, you get that root to grow down properly. And all of a sudden, you now have this plant that's 1,000 square feet, and it might have 5,000 leaves. But below those 5,000 leaves are 5,000 roots going down into the ground. And they've done studies where a 1,000-foot giant pumpkin plant has 15,000 miles of roots. Now those 15,000 miles of roots are doing one thing and one thing only. Going through that soil looking for all the nutrients. So when you go from just one root coming out at the very base of the plant, and you go to thousands of roots, that's how you can grow these pumpkins so big. Now, how big do they grow? They can grow up to 50 pounds per day. In fact, last year in Michigan, we had a grower, Todd Cotterman. He reported his pumpkin in one day growing 72 pounds in one day. So the way they can grow so fast is a direct result of all those roots being able to feed that one pumpkin and grow fast and furious. So that's very, very important. We're getting on to our next pumpkin here because I'll talk forever. Jim and Lisa, come on up. Jim and Lisa are from Atwater, Minnesota. Made a little bit of a drive. And remember, these guys, up until this year, were the Minnesota State Fair record holders at 1676 for pounds. All right, last week you guys weighed one. This week you got one that I think is maybe bigger. Okay, about the same. Because last week you had 12 something. And your personal best, these guys have grown one to 1775 and a half. That was last year, right? Or 2 years ago. And so this one may not get close to personal best because they've gotten a good personal best. I like that shape though. That usually typically can go heavy when it's flatter like that. All right. What do you hope? You want to see at least 12? All right, let's go for at least 1,200. And that would be the first pumpkin today over that magical half-ton mark if we could get up to 1,200. once we get it all set here, we'll do a countdown. We'll do a five countdown. We'll get all the ropes removed here. See if we can't get these guys into the lead spot. All they need to do is be 8:45, but let's pull the ropes away. All right, let's see how big this monster weighs. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What do we got? 1076, over 1,000 pounds. Congratulations, Jim and Lisa. Go on up there. We have our first half-ton pumpkin of the day. 1,076 pounds. That is a great sized pumpkin. And remember, all these pumpkins grow this big in about 70 to 90 days. It is absolutely incredible that they can get so big. And again, sometimes attaining growth spurts in one day of up to 50 pounds or even more. So incredible. That's how you get some big pumpkins. All right, congratulations, Jim and Lisa, on the first pumpkin over 1,000 today. All right, so again, back to growing these giants and the secrets, tips, and tricks to doing it. Varying vying's absolutely essential. The genetics absolutely essential, and the good soil. But here's a little bit with the soil. If you want to utilize all the nutrients within that soil, you have to get that pH to a certain level. Now, how do you know what the pH is at? It's quite simple. You take you scoop a few spots in your patch, you throw it in a baggie, send it to a lab. They'll analyze it. There's a lab in Iowa that will analyze it for $25. It'll tell you every nutrient in there, your organic matter, your calcium, which is how much you think of it as your nutrient storehouse. It'll tell you what the pH is at. Very important. So this is pro tip number 3. If you can get your pH between 6.5 and 7, you're going to essentially allow that pumpkin to freely feed. So think of it as, every day is Sunday afternoon at Golden Corral. It can eat and eat and eat and eat, and it will never stop because the pH is absolutely perfect. If the pH goes above or below that 6.5 to 7, you start to cut off some of the nutrients. They're not available to the pumpkin, and that then can cause your pumpkin to then essentially starve or not get as big. So very, very essential and important. To get the pH of your soil correct to feed your giant pumpkin. So another really good tip and trick to getting these things giant. Some people ask us, how do we lift these? Well, you kind of see up there, we have a pumpkin harness. So a lot of us hardcore pumpkin growers, we have these pumpkin harnesses. And what we'll do is we'll use either a tripod, so you'll build a tripod over your pumpkin, and then you'll pick it up with the harness, and you'll slide a trailer underneath and then set it back down. Or you can put it onto like a skid steer, and you can use the harness to pick it up and then bring it over to a pallet, and then get the pallet up onto a truck or a trailer. Another question that I get a lot is, do we feed them milk? We do not feed pumpkins milk. You'd never want to feed your pumpkins milk. Milk, after an hour or two in the sun, will smell really bad, it'll rot, and it'll attract every possible pest that you don't want around your pumpkin to destroy your pumpkin. So if somebody ever tells you feed your pumpkin milk, they're just trying to eliminate you from competition. Just know that. Real quick, anybody have any questions? Has anybody ever wondered anything about a giant pumpkin? What do you got? They are not going on the pallet. So what we do when the pumpkins are just the size of maybe a basketball, we'll get this foam board. I like to use the pink foam board that's insulation board. I'll make like a 4x4 foot if you're really feeling like you're going to grow a big one. go bigger. But 4x4 is really good. You'll drill holes in the foam board to allow water to go through. And then what that does is it gets it up off the soil. Because on the soil, these being a softer skin squash, they will actually rot. So you have to protect them. Now on that foam board, we'll put a light layer of sand, just a small layer. And what that does is as these pumpkins grow, they'll slide across that sand. So they don't get all funky shaped. They don't turn into like Jabba the Hutt. So if you notice, this one might be a good example for you guys to see. You want to keep your stem and your flower end as parallel as possible. So you have to sometimes adjust, but there is no rolling pumpkins or anything like that. You really can't move these much once they get up to, roughly 500 pounds. It gets really tough to move them. If they're up over 1,000 pounds and you want to move them, you gotta strap them and then just kind of use a winch to move them a little bit if you need to relieve some vine pressure. All right, this next one here, Serene. Are you around here? Serene Stang? I thought I seen her with her little pumpkin. She might be eating donut. Oh, there's Serene. Come on down. And little Audrey, the little pumpkin. All right, so Serene was very kind, and she donated this pumpkin to be carved today by our carvers, Shannon and Jodi. Appreciate that. And obviously, they're doing a phenomenal job. But she did get this one weighed. It came in at 1,082 pounds. Congratulations, brand new leader. 1,082 pounds. And is that your personal best? Or 1,182. 1,182, so came very close, within 100 pounds of her personal best. Congratulations, Serene, and thank you so much for donating that for the carving. And she is our new leader, which is awesome, with just 2 pumpkins to go after this one. All right, a lot of people ask us, what do we do with these pumpkins when we're done with them? What's the point of growing them? What do we do with them? Well, the point of growing them is competition. We're what we call extreme gardeners. We want to grow something as big as we possibly can. It's, like when I first did it, how I got involved was I went down to the state fair. I seen a bunch of those giant pumpkins, and I thought to myself, why can't I do this? I grow tons of zucchini, tons of peppers, tomatoes, so on and so forth. Why can't I do, unless there's like some, special secret, like you dump nuclear waste on it, why can't I do this? So I went home, I did a bunch of research, and I started growing giant pumpkins about 7 years ago. And I was fortunate enough, the very first year they held it at Anoka, I brought my first pumpkin. It was 763 pounds, totally blew away any concept of what I thought I could do. I was hoping for 100 pounds. And because I did so well that first year, I thought, you know what, I'm hooked. I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. So I've been growing that along with other giants ever since. All right, next pumpkin, Craig, you're on deck here. But what that tells you is that anybody can grow a giant pumpkin. You don't need a lot of room. They do a competition every year that's a worldwide competition called the 150 square foot challenge. And what that is, that means that you grow a pumpkin in 150 square feet. So like a 10 by 15 foot patch, basically. And the current world record for that sits at 1,375 pounds. So you can grow a very large pumpkin in a very small area. In fact, Craig, we're going to bring his pumpkin up here. He has that nice big orange one. We're going to pull that up. But Craig is also involved in the 150 square foot challenge this year. You're going to weigh that one next week in Stillwater, correct? So He's going for that. What do you're probably not going to hit a world record. 8 to 900, that one's taking that. So just to give you guys an idea, he has an 8 to 900 pounder, which is similar to this one. This one's 845 pounds. So he grew this in a small, like what is your exact dimensions for your batch? 25 feet long, 6 feet wide. He grow, you know, you don't have to do a 10 by 15. You can do it however you want. But in just 150 square foot, he has grown something up near this size. So you don't have to feel like you have to have a farm to grow these. And they're fun to grow, and this is a monster coming up here. So you got your family here today, huh? What are the names? Clara and Nolan. Do you guys love watching those pumpkins grow in the backyard all summer? Do you ever go up and... No, not much with helping? Well, that might not be a bad thing, because a lot of times, sometimes when you help, you hurt. A lot of grower error is the reason why pumpkins don't make it to scale. This one is a monster. It is actually off of the 2560 Ginger. Now, if you guys know anything about seeds, which you might not, which I'm going to tell you right now, the 2560 Ginger, remember, when we say those words, that's how we identify the seed. So the 2560 Ginger came from the 2,560 pound pumpkin that Travis Ginger, that's about 14 miles north of here, grew almost 3 years ago now. And that was the North American record. There had never been one in North America growing that big. Now he eclipsed that last year with the world record. But that seed, the 2560, is a very special seed. It has grown a lot of personal bests and a lot of state and national records for people. This one may have a chance at a personal best, you think? Okay. So Craig's personal best, let's set it up here. Craig's personal best is 1,442 pounds. If this one eclipses that, he will have a brand new personal best, which is the largest pumpkin he's ever grown, which would be a pretty cool, pretty cool thing. Now, Craig doesn't give the full size that a lot of growers give. How many square feet you think this pumpkin grew in? So this one grew in about 600, maybe 700 square feet at the most. And the weather was cold and wet this year. Not an ideal year to grow giant pumpkins, but he still did, I think, absolutely amazing. This one has really good color, which if you know anything about the 2560 Ginger, that generally doesn't happen. So I think he got a bit of an anomaly, which is always a good anomaly when it's real pretty like this. All right, we'll pull this away. We're hoping for, what do you want, a new personal best? Would that be good? Right? All right, so let's go for 1,500 pounds. That would be our first 3/4 of a ton. Today, that would be a brand new personal best if we got 1,500 pounds, and it would put him in the lead. All right, let's do a countdown from 5. Let's see what we got. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull it. 1485. That's a brand new personal best. His old personal best is 1485. Wow, that is absolutely incredible. And now we're a leader, which is really congratulations, Craig. this is a great example, coming in at 1484 or 85, 1485. This pumpkin, when we did the three-way measurement, remember how we estimate how big they are. Do a circumference, side to side, over the from stem to flower. We add those three measurements together, and it tells us how much it's supposed to weigh, estimated. Now, when you put it on the scale, it tells you the truth. This one was supposed to weigh about 1490, so really, really close to what we thought it was gonna weigh. Which is what you want. You want chart, or you would love to see heavy to chart. That means the rind inside is real thick, and it has more weight to it than what we can visually see and measure. So heavy to chart's what we always want. But did an amazing job. 1485, a brand new personal best by over 20 pounds. We are down to our final pumpkin for today's giant pumpkin contest in the Halloween capital of the world, Anoka. What is more fitting, and man, aside from the wind, is this weather not perfect? It's a little windy. Hopefully you haven't been getting too much wind feedback on the mic here. All right, this last one, what's interesting about it is so remember the estimates. It estimates at I think 15, we're about 1590. So if it comes in where we think it's going to, it should be first place in the winter. But you never know. I have watched, in fact last week, we had a pumpkin that was supposed to weigh about 2,400 pounds come in at 2,100 pounds overseas. So, I mean, just a balloon, thin rind. And then we also, in Wisconsin, we had a pumpkin that was supposed to weigh 2,100, coming at 2,551 pounds. Came in what we call heavy to chart, but 26% heavy to chart. Means the rind is thick. When he cuts that open, and he's gonna need himself a chainsaw, he will be able to see a side view of how thick those walls are. And you get those walls, you can get them up to 12, 13, 15 inches thick. I mean, if you got a neighborhood pumpkin smasher, put that out and say go to town, try it. Any final questions before I measure or before we weigh the last pumpkin? Anybody ever wonder anything about giant pumpkins? Or have I told you more than you even care to know? Yeah, what do you got? So minimum for what? Oh, okay. So question was DAP, which is DAP, days after pollination. So the day you pollinated starts the days after pollination. So what's the minimum for maturity, or to bring to the layoffs, or maybe how long do they grow? Well, I'll answer them all. This one here's a younger pumpkin, you can tell by the skin. Really young. That one may only be 40 days old. You want to hit 45 days to get the seeds to viability, which means the seeds will be good to then plant the next year. So 45 days is kind of that magic cutoff there. The pumpkins, however, can actually grow for 120 days. So when you pollinate that pumpkin can now grow for 120 days. So a 120-day-old pumpkin can still be growing. It'll be very minimal at that time, but it can still be growing. So, good question. Yeah, what do you got?
Right here.
Okay.
In the microphone.
All right. Question was, what's the biggest pumpkin I've ever seen? Well, because we live in the best spot on Earth to grow pumpkins, and that is halfway between the equator and the North Pole, latitude 45. Best place on Earth. And here's the proof of the best place on Earth. Just 14 miles north of here, the world record pumpkin was growing. Now then, you got it. Travis Ginger, who's a buddy of mine, lives right by me. I got to watch that pumpkin grow. A brand new world record, 2,749 pounds, growing right here in Minnesota. Here's the cool part about it. For over a decade, that world record was overseas. First it was Belgium, then it went over to Italy. Travis not only brought it back to the United States, but he brought it to Minnesota for the first time ever. So that is really cool, and it's cool that it was actually not even Minnesota, but right here in our backyard, just a few miles north of here, which is really, really neat. But that proves you can grow the monsters. And remember, when I went through the history lesson earlier, 1996, the first 1,000-pound pumpkin ever weighed in the world. Huge. No one thought we could ever get to it. 2006, the first 1,500-pound pumpkin ever weighed in the world. No one thought we could ever get that big. 2012, the first 2,000-pound pumpkin ever weighed on the planet. Nobody ever thought we could get there. And now we are on the brink of hitting 3,000 pounds. To give you perspective, a smart car is 1,500 pounds. You can put two smart cars together and you have the weight of what we are about to hit. Probably within the next year or two, maybe 3, but probably the next year or two, we will see the first 3,000 pound pumpkin, which is absolutely, I mean, Cinderella, we have your care. I mean, that's all I can say. It's an incredible journey from just 44 years ago when the world record barely scratched 400 pounds. So in 44 years, 400 to nearly 3,000 pounds is unbelievable. It's almost magical. And we really truly are in the golden era of growing giants. And anybody can do it. There's, this is a great example. This next grower up here, Brian, he's up by Grand Forks. This is his second year. In his first year, he got a pumpkin to 2,098 pounds before it was damaged. It was not legal last year. But very first year growing, he almost hit 2,100 pounds. That is absolutely incredible. It's almost too hard to believe that you can grow a fruit to 1 ton in just 80, 90 days. But it happens. And if you hook up a time-lapse camera to your pumpkin, it'll look like somebody's blowing up a balloon. It's crazy. Well, apparently we got to bring in the big equipment for this last one. That's always a good sign. All right, was there any other last questions before we get this last one weighed? Ever wanted to know anything about a giant pumpkin? Anybody? Good. No, man, I must have did my job. I must have told you guys everything you ever needed to know about. Oh, yep, I got one. Let's grab you first, and then I'll get you. Yep, so after the competition, I can't remember if I answered this or not, but most people, because they're so darn proud of growing a big one, most of these end up at the end of the driveway as a little fall display, Halloween display. So that's where most of them will end up. They're just excited they grew grow something so incredibly huge. And you got to remember, like 0.0000001% of the earth can ever grow something this big right here. So it's a proud moment, especially if you are a gardener, because you know how much work it takes to garden. But some people, and I've done this myself, some people will sell them to Mall of America, and they'll use them for display, carve. The zoo has the pumpkin nights. I don't know if you've ever been down to the Minnesota Zoo. A bunch of them will go there, and a lot of times afterwards, the animals will eat them up. Car dealerships, casinos, movies, they all want these. These are rare. It's hard to get big pumpkins. They can be used for almost anything. You can even eat it. If you want to be in the kitchen for 5 weeks, you could make 1,000 pumpkin pies. I mean, nobody got time for that, but if you wanted to, you could. So they are edible if you wanted to. There's much better pumpkins out there geared for pumpkin pie. But most people just display them, and they're happy and content with that. I remember one year, 2020, nobody wanted pumpkins that year because the world was shut down. So I stacked 5 of them. I had 5 huge pumpkins all around 1,000 pounds, and I wanted to see how long it would take the deer to eat them all. And the deer came in every day, ate that pyramid of pumpkins, and it took them till about the end of February to get it down to nothing. And so I fed the herd of deer that year. All right, our very last pumpkin. Oh, one more question here. What'd you have? Okay, so the seeds. That's very, very important because remember, you go to the seed racks at Walmart, at Home Depot. You go to those seed kiosks, and you look up and you see giant pumpkin, and you're like, oh, I want to grow that. So you grab that seed, you go home, and you don't get nothing. Maybe 50 pounds, which maybe for some 50 pounds is great. But you need the good genetics. And the only way to get the good genetics is to have a grower that you trust that knows how to control the pollination, that makes the seeds bigger and better every year. Like I said earlier, if you just let the bees come in and do their thing, the big old bumblebee could have came from Miss Johnson's patch where she grows the world's smallest pumpkins and then ruin your future pumpkins. They get smaller and smaller. So you want the good seeds. Now, where do you get the good seeds? Well, today I think they have a few left up there. We have some seeds for sale for just $10. These seeds come from a controlled pollination of a pumpkin over 1,000 pounds. So you get some of the best seeds. Go home, follow the things I tell you. And I should say right now, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, I give how-to videos on YouTube, Garden of Giants. And I have a Facebook group called Garden of Giants as well. We'll teach you how to grow these giants so that next year you can bring in the big ones and be involved in this extremely fun hobby. And it is a fun one. Almost everybody that gets in it is absolutely obsessed after the first time growing one. But if you do want seeds, I think there's some left right up at this merchandise kiosk where all the little pumpkins are. And like I said, $10 gets you the monster genetic seeds. And even if you wanted to grow them, not bring them to the competition, but just grow something for the porch, a big old porch pumpkin. Something that every person that drives by your house is gonna be like, wait, what? I mean, trust me, you drive down the road with just this, and everybody thinks it's a world record. They'll be like, is that a world record? I mean, people just don't see the giant pumpkins all that often. All right, Brian, let's get you up here. This is the final pumpkin. Brian, like I said, is up from Fisher, Minnesota, up by Grand Forks, right? Second year growing. First year, you got an official weight of 1762. Well, that was last week. Okay, so first year you got nothing, really? 1524 last year? All right, and 1655, and obviously lost that beauty, that almost 2,100 pounder. This year, you have the 1762 in, and before you take that off, I'm gonna just explain what Brian's going for. So remember, GPC, I talked about it right at the beginning, that orange sign behind the scale. The Great Pumpkin Commonwealth. They are the governing body over 120 weigh-offs across the globe. Like I said, from Japan to Belgium to South Africa, all over the United States, 120 of these exact things go on for about a 4-week period every year. And if you bring 3 different pumpkins to 3 different weigh-off competitions, and those 3 pumpkins equal a total of 4,300 pounds or more, you win a jacket. Let me see, is anybody wearing their jacket? Alex is wearing a jacket. You get a jacket. It's much like the Masters jacket, you know, Tiger Woods, except it's the Proud Growing jacket. So Brian, in just his 2nd year, is in the running for a jacket. He has 1 pumpkin in at 1762, so we're going to add the one for this week, whatever this is, and then next week in Stillwater, this upcoming Saturday, we're going to weigh all the really big pumpkins. You think these ones are big? Go to Stillwater next Saturday. You could see some 2,500 pound pumpkins or more. In fact, Brian has one that may top the scales at 1 ton next week. But we'll wait for that because that's going to be the exciting jacket. Today, what do we want? What are you hoping for? Heavy. All right, he wants heavy. So remember, I told you guys, based on weight, this is going to be roughly 1,590. Roughly 1,590 pounds. Now that will get him first place, first off, and the win for today. But if it goes heavier than 1,590, that means it went heavy to chart or had the thick rind. So let's do a countdown from 10. We're going to do this in style and see what we can get Brian for his 2nd pumpkin of the year. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, what do we got? 1683! Absolutely incredible! What a great pumpkin. Congratulations, Brian. Well on his way to getting that jacket. Next week, we will know for sure if he gets it. 1683. Very, very nice. Congratulations, Brian. That's all. So you got 1762 last week. Almost another 1,700 pound pumpkin. He is over 3,000 pounds for pumpkins and just weigh-offs. That is incredible. What a great size pumpkin, what a great grow. In just his 2nd year growing these giants. All right, congratulations, Brian.